You're watching this special program. President Draupadi Murmu leading the celebrations for India's first National Space Day. The day has been declared to commemorate the historic landing of Chandrayaan-3 on August 23, 2023. On the lunar surface, India was the fourth nation to reach the moon and the first to land on the southern port of the lunar surface. President Murmu, in her address, in particular, greeted the scientific and the student community in the country. She said that diverse achievements of the space sector in key areas have the power to transform the humanity. She spoke about the future missions of ISRO as well, from the Gaganyaan to India's own space station. She also gave away awards to winners of special technology competition on the occasion of National Space Day. She also said that ISRO is moving ahead with opening of the space sector, which has invited opportunities for a number of startups in the domain. She particularly highlights some key achievement, the 3D printed engines that are being made by startups in the country today. President was also joined by Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh and ISRO Chief Dr. S. Somnath on this occasion. Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended greetings to everyone on the maiden National Space Day. Along with a special video, Prime Minister on social media platform X says, and I quote, "We recall with great pride our nation's achievements in the space sector. It is also a day to laud the contributions of our space scientists. Our government has taken a series of futuristic decisions relating to this sector, and we will do even more in the times to come." Moving on to some international stories now. Ukraine has said that it used a US-made GBU-39 bomb to strike a Russian platoon command post in Kursk region of Russia. Ukraine's Air Force released footage on Thursday. Kiev allies, including the United States, are supplying weapons to Ukrainian forces, but have imposed restrictions on how and when they can be used inside of Russia. Out of concern, such strikes could prompt retaliation from Russia that draws NATO countries into the Ukraine-Russian war. The International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi will visit Kursk nuclear power plant next week to assess the situation. IAEA was informed by the Russian Federation that remains of a drone had been found within the Kursk's nuclear power plant. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday accused Ukraine of trying to strike the Kursk power plant in an overnight attack. Acting Kursk Governor Alexei Smirnov told Putin that the situation at the plant was stable. DD India's The 2024 Democratic National Convention got over with Kamala Harris formally accepting Democratic Party nomination for 2024 presidency. The highlight of the fourth and final day was Kamala Harris. She made her case to the country as she is the right person, according to her, to be the next president of the United States. It was Harris's most important speech of her life. Kamala Harris's path from prosecutor to politician has been defined by many firsts. She was America's first Indian-American senator, California's first female and South Asian Attorney General. Kamala Harris is also the first woman to become Vice President, as well as the first Black or Asian American person to hold the office.
And so, on behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
Kamala Harris called her opponent Donald Trump as an unserious man. She talked of the chaos and calamity of his time in White House. She launched scathing attack on Trump for appointing a conservative justice to the Supreme Court, who later overturned Roe v. Wade, which had protected the federal right to abortion for decades.
In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse.
On Russia-Ukraine conflict, Kamala Harris said she will continue to stand strong with Ukraine and NATO allies, while on Israel-Gaza conflict, she said she will always defend key U.S. ally Israel and call for an end to the conflict. Kamala Harris issued a direct appeal to Republicans questioning whether to vote for her, wanting to be president for all Americans. Kamala Harris called voters to be guided by optimism as the election approaches.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans. And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections, to the peaceful transfer of power.
Kamala Harris emerged as the Democratic candidate little more than a month ago. Allies of President Joe Biden, 81 years old, forced him to quit the race. If successful, she stands to make history as the first woman elected as U.S. president. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, the Republican presidential nominee, posted live reactions to Vice President Kamala Harris's Democratic nomination acceptance speech on his Truth Social platform. Trump also posted tweets on social media platform X. He said Harris stands for incompetence and weakness, adding that the United States is being laughed at all over the world. Donald Trump labeled Harris as a radical Marxist on the border issue. He says she could not close the border. He further quipped that she has 4.5 months left in the office, predicting his win in the November elections. The election war game in America is on. Republican presidential nominee and former U.S. President Donald Trump visited U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona on Thursday. Expected as he criticized Kamala Harris as lazy border czar. Trump showered praises on the wall that was built during his administration but was never completely finished. An Arizona man is wanted after threatening over social media to kill Trump as he visits the U.S. border with Mexico as part of his campaign. This is the latest in a series of threats against the candidates ahead of November 5th general elections. Despite this and new threats, Donald Trump said he has great respect for Secret Service and the job they do, while adding that they made mistakes from which they will learn.
And we have a Marxist that's running, and I don't think you can let her. This country is not ready for a Marxist president. She will never build the wall. She doesn't want to build the wall. She's only saying if she changes her mind, it's only because she wants to get elected, because who wouldn't want to have a strong border? You need strong borders and strong elections, and we have neither. But we're going to have very strong borders, and we're going to have very strong elections soon. We had a border czar who was the border czar. She loved the title, but she didn't want to do the work because she's lazy, and probably more importantly than being lazy, she wants to have an open border.
Moving on, after concluding his productive two-day visit to Poland, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to begin his historic visit of Ukraine. Prime Minister Modi is visiting Ukraine at the invitation of President Volodymyr Zelensky. It will be the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine after establishing diplomatic ties in the year 1992. During his visit, Prime Minister Modi will be holding talks with Ukrainian President on strengthening bilateral cooperation and share perspectives on peaceful resolution of the ongoing Ukraine conflict. In his pre-departure statement, Prime Minister showed confidence that the visit will serve as a natural continuation of extensive contacts with the two countries and help create the foundation for stronger and more vibrant relations in the years ahead. Prime Minister is travelling to Kiev from Poland in Rail Force 1 train. Our correspondent Vishal Baristo joins us for more on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Ukraine. Vishal, what all is there on the agenda, and how is the world, international community looking at this visit?
You that the message is very, very clear. A Prime Minister's visit to Ukraine is being watched across the world, and it is so very important. The timing is very, very interesting because only a month back he was in Moscow. He met President Vladimir Putin, and now Prime Minister Modi going and meeting President Zelensky would certainly have its impact strategically, politically for India and also for the global South.
India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who is on a four-day visit to Washington, D.C., had a lively introduction with the Indian community there. Interacting with the Indian diaspora, Singh expressed joy to see how the Indian community continues to cherish and uphold their cultural values and maintain their connections to the roots. During the minister's visit to Washington, D.C., India and the U.S. signed Security of Supplies Arrangement document and a memorandum of agreement regarding the assignment of liaison officers. Let's now turn to other stories making news today. The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, has directed all food businesses, including e-commerce food business operators, to remove claims of A1 and A2 types of packaging of milk and milk products. A1 and A2 are different categories of milk based on types of proteins they contain. India's apex court will hear Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's plea for bail in liquor policy case on Friday. Earlier, the court denied interim bail to Kejriwal in alleged Delhi excise policy scam on August 14th. As India gears up to celebrate Lord Krishna's birthday, a grand lamp donation camp was organized in Vrindavan in the North Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Krishna Janmashtami is a significant Hindu festival that celebrates the birth of Lord Krishna, the 8th avatar of Vishnu. In some sports news, star Indian javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra secured second spot as he registered a season best throw of 89.49 meters at the Lausanne Diamond League on 2024 Thursday night. This was in Chopra's first competitive appearance since he bagged silver for India at the Paris Olympics. The 26-year-old was edged out by Grenada's Anderson Peters, who claimed the top spot in Switzerland with a mammoth throw of 90.81 meters. Meanwhile, Julian Weber of Germany came in third on the day with a best throw of 87.08 meters. The top 6 javelin throwers in the season standings qualify for the finals in Belgium, slated to be held on the 14th of September. 4 Indian women wrestlers on Thursday became under-17 world champions in their respective categories, stamping their class in the Under-17 World Wrestling Championship 2024. Aditi Kumari emerged champion in the 43 kg, blanking Maria Luiska-Giga of Greece 7-0 in the title clash. In the 57 kg final, Neha overpowered Japan's So Tutsui as she stood out with her double leg attacks. In the 65 kg finals, Pulkit faced Daria Frolova, who in competing as a neutral athlete and won 6-3. Mansi Later clinched the top podium spot after beating Hana Piskaya in the 73 kg category. Also won 2 bronze medals in Greece Roman style, with Ronak Daya and Sainath Pardhi ending on podiums. Pink, along with her daughter Willow, performed a version of her hit What About Us on the final day of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Take a look.
We are searchlights we can see in the dark. What about us? What about all the times you said, what about us? But man, you fooled us. Enough is enough. What about us? What about all the plans that ended in disaster? What about love? What about...
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.